Mahaprabhu was very controversial. You know, when he initiated Haridas Thakur, or he sought him the title of Namacharya, this was a Muslim. And, the Brahmins did not like this. The situation only got worse with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who revived and broadcast that vision, and then it really got intense with Bhaktisiddhanta, because he was actually going out and initiating people from lesser castes. And he sent his disciples to England and Europe because there was no cultural, ethnic, or social barrier to the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, it was Srila Prabhupada who really he hit people like us and proved that, yes, all of this great divine secret Vedic wisdom is accessible to everybody. So it is so transformative that it makes us appear to be antisocial and very more than countercultural. And then when we're dogmatic about it, it doesn't help either. It's like my generation can attest. So our wonderful opportunity and challenge today is to learn how to present this transformative experience of bhakti in a way that's responsible, that is effective, and that is supportive of the newcomer in this opening heart in bhakti. So this is called pastoral counseling, that we as students of the tradition have the adhikar, we have the facility then to teach the tradition. How do we teach the tradition? This is pastoral counseling. We teach it, of course, through Bhagavatam class. We teach it academically, you could say. And Prabhupada wanted that. He wanted his followers and disciples to be learned in the books. So we study Bhagavatam, we study Bhagavad Gita, we do Bhakti Shastri, and there's many other levels of degrees. But this practice of counseling, that is where the rubber meets the road. We're helping people transition into this whole new divine realm of bhakti. That isn't an academic exercise. It is a very person-to-person exercise. It requires a different set of skills. And that, like any skill, it's something that has to be understood and then practiced. Everyone know the 4 stages of learning? Yeah, the first stage is called unconscious incompetence. That you don't even know what you don't know. So the second stage is called conscious competence, where you become aware that there is this body of knowledge that I am not yet familiar with, and I need to master and learn. The third stage is called conscious competence, where if I really apply myself, I can practice these things that I have learned. And the fourth stage is called unconscious competence, where it is so deeply internalized that automatically you exercise the knowledge. It has become realized, it's become part of your DNA. So the class today is to start with some of the conscious competencies. I know many of you here have already come to the unconscious competence stage in several of these practices, but it won't hurt to just see them codified. And our goal here is just that, to help spread the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a meaningful and effective way. Is that all right? Okay. Which one? Maybe battery slow. There's only 19 slides, so. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so service to Prabhupada, his determination and courage and compassion brought Krishna consciousness to the world today and for generations to come. It's down there. Just as a quick example of Prabhupada's willingness to meet his audience where they were at, Achyutananda Prabhu, who was one of the first 4 men to move into 26 Second Avenue Ashram in 1966, he said that the four men, they had a toilet downstairs, but the shower was upstairs in Swamiji's apartment, a little apartment. So they would go up there to shower. They would share the shower. Prabhupada would sometimes wait in line for his turn. And the five of them would share the same towel. They had one towel. So that was how willing Prabhupada was to accommodate these strange new Westerners to Krishna consciousness. So our class overview, we're going to have three sections here. The fundamentals of pastoral counseling, that's fundamental. A toolbox. And then we'll take a look at the bigger picture. What are we actually doing by gaining competency as pastoral counselors? So in the fundamentals, we have these five areas we'll unpack. First, what are our goals? What's our purpose in becoming pastoral counselors? What qualifications do we have or need to have? What is the meaning of confidentiality? What is the position of a servant leader? And what are our limitations in this particular kind of counseling? So starting with goals, our goal is very simple. We want our counselees to feel safe, and we want them to manifest the six qualities of positive devotional service. Enthusiasm for bhakti, confidence in their ability to do it, the patience to let the process work, the determination to stick with it while the process is unfolding, the ability to stay in spirituality and be detached from the various allurements of the world, and finally, to become part of the disciplic succession and continue the chain of teaching, which has brought so much joy to so many people. So what are our qualifications? I've got them in two categories. Let's look at Gyan first. We do need to know, to be pastoral counselors, we're counseling on the basis of scripture. We have to have some knowledge of Prabhupada's books. We don't have to know the Sanskrit verses. That's not a qualification. It's nice if you have them, especially with audiences of people who are familiar with the tradition, but it's not necessary. But we do need to know the concepts and be able to explain them. And then we have to have some adhikar or some application of those books ourselves, our personal qualification, that we're not just teaching something theoretical, but something that is meaningful to us. Then there is some secondary source knowledge to be taken from basic psychology and some understanding of professional requirements and responsibilities as pastoral counselors. So we'll cover some of those things today. There are courses in nonviolent communication that are very applicable. There are courses in elements of, anyway, there's a variety of sources to learn these things from. The same counseling techniques you would use in psychology and in professional counseling, you would use in pastoral counseling. So that's plenty of opportunity to learn and enhance your skills beyond the very few basics I'm presenting today. Now, the Vijnana, what is Vijnana? Okay, what is Vijnana? Who is editing this thing? Anyway, that's why I never read my books. So Vijnana means your application. When it becomes unconsciously competent, that's Vijnana, or realized knowledge. Realization will manifest as convictions, like you really, when you're doing pastoral counseling, you really feel like you're helping somebody. It is transformative for their life, and you're empowered to really help them improve their lives. Therefore, the motivation is compassion. You see people without Krishna consciousness are struggling with things that they could be putting to rest if they just chanted the holy name. And finally, our experience as devotees, that what have we actually done? How deeply have we applied it? If we have applied what we're teaching, it has potency. And Prabhupada writes that a person who smokes cannot advise others not to smoke. As an example, I can share with you, I've been married for 42 years, and my wife and I have a nice marriage, and that gives me so much energy for talking about marriage. It gives me so much confidence. Having had that experience, it's such a valuable asset in my life. So whatever your experience is in Krishna consciousness, or even before Krishna consciousness, or academics outside of Krishna consciousness, all those things can be brought to bear when you're dealing with people who may have similar situations. They're married or thinking about marriage, they're in school or thinking about being in school. So if you're in school or you've graduated from school, you can speak. Oh yes, this ties in nicely with Krishna consciousness. Any questions about our fundamental qualifications? I'm bringing this up to just show you, you don't need to be Paramahamsa to do pastoral counseling. All right, confidentiality. Oops. Confidentiality is a fundamental to any counseling. Has anyone ever come to you and said, I'm not supposed to tell anyone this, but yes. I won't ask if anyone here has ever said those words. It's confidential information. So, right, the point is that in any field of counseling, the counselee, in order to feel safe, needs to know that he or she can trust you. And so that trust is sacred. And if you're going to be counseling in any way, this is a very black and white issue. If we don't know how to keep things confidential, then it's better not that we don't present ourselves as counselors. If we're going to be counselors, then what we hear is sacred. There's an Alfred Hitchcock movie, which I'm sure everyone here is too young to have ever seen, but it was a very intriguing movie called Confession. And in this movie, the hero is a priest in the Catholic Church. And so a parishioner comes to him and says, I murdered this person. And the confession tells him, I murdered this person. And of course, as the priest, he cannot violate that confidence. It's called priestly penitence. If you violate something that the confidentiality of someone who's told you in your capacity as a spiritual leader, they could actually sue you in America. It's that heavy. So this priest was in a very awkward position. Now he knew this person's a murderer. And then just to add a Hitchcockian spin to the plot, somehow the priest becomes accused of the murder. So he's on the verge of being convicted for this murder, and he knows who did it, but he can't say. So intriguing plot. I won't tell you how it comes out, but the good guys win. But the point is that the discipline of confidentiality is something that's non-negotiable in counseling. Therefore, when we say to somebody, everything we say here is confidential, we have to mean it. This is a legal requirement, personal requirement, trust-building requirement, and if there is need to share what you learn in a counseling session, you can share it with the counselee's permission. So it's perfectly fine to ask for that. Do you mind if I discuss this with a particular person, or just in general with others who might help me? That's okay, provided they give the permission. So it's really important to ask for it and not do it. If it really blows up in your face if somebody feels that you have betrayed their confidence, and they won't trust you again. And it may completely destroy their Krishna consciousness. What is that Hippocratic oath? Right? First, do no harm. So if you're going to be a counselor, that's the first. First, do no harm. And the best way to ensure that is to keep confidentiality. Any questions on this? Next is to be a servant leader. Anyone know who this is on the left? It's Duryodhana. It's Duryodhana, yeah, another great club fighter. So Dronacharya was the teacher of these two groups of cousins, the Pandavas and the Kurus. They have the same teacher. There's a little competition there for the throne. which later turned into the Battle of Kurukshetra. So the elder of the Kurus was Duryodhana, the elder of the Pandavas was Yudhisthira. So Drona, their teacher, says, Duryodhana, I want you to go out today and find somebody who is your superior and bring that person back to me. And to Yudhisthira, he said, I want you to go out and find someone who is your inferior and bring that person back to me. So they both went out all day. In the evening, they both came back empty-handed. Duryodhana said, I looked and looked, and I could not find anyone superior to me. And Yudhisthira said, I looked and I saw a man who was hitting a cow. And I thought, okay, here's something I would never do. Like he's my inferior. But then I followed him home and I looked in his house and I saw that he was eating a Ekadasi meal. And on Ekadasi, he's observing Ekadasi. I break Ekadasi sometimes. He's my superior. So they both came back empty-handed. And Drona said, Yudhisthira, you are fit to rule the world. And Duryodhana, you are fit to be eaten by jackals. So the point of the servant leader is to find how is this person my superior. Therefore, in counseling, in pastoral counseling, we want to look for ways in which our counselee is our superior. And this puts us in the mood of this servant leader. I'm here to guide you, but you're my superior, you're my Prabhu. So in spite of this contradiction, I'm here to help you in any way that I can. So the servant leader role is really augmented when we are able to recognize and appreciate and acknowledge the ways in which our counselee is our superior. My favorite story in this regard, my mentor, Ganavir Maharaj, was the Bhakta leader in Los Angeles. And there was a gentleman who was coming around the temple. He was a sannyasi. He was a leader of his own ashram, an impersonalist ashram, where he taught yoga and had many, many followers and a successful practice in business. But he was reading Prabhupada's books and getting his life ruined. He was beginning to realize he was off philosophically. He was coming around the temple. And finally, he came in to see Ganavir Maharaj. And Ganavir, who was a brahmachari at that time, as soon as this impersonalist sannyasi came in the room, he got up from his desk and he offered obeisances. And of course, the Swami was quite shocked. Ganavir said, that's how we treat sannyasis around here. So this immediately warmed his heart, made him feel that, okay, I know I'm going to get beat up philosophically, but at least they're going to be nice to me. They're going to respect me. They're going to appreciate my accomplishments. And so he moved into the ashram and became a brahmachari. And he was like 45 years old at the time, 40, 45. And then he was taken sannyas in ISKCON. His name is Amala Bhakta Maharaj. So this is a vivid example of how we can see people as our superiors. So let's name some ways in which you could see people as your superiors. Just call them out. The question is, how could you see a counselee as your superior? Okay, good qualities. Anything more tangible, perhaps? Okay, philosophically. Okay, yeah, this is good. I mean, this is foundational. Maybe more experienced in life. Yeah, go on. They're older. Yes, just having survived life. They're older. Yes, they are superior. How else? Excellent. Yep. Maybe overcome an addiction, or they've been through a divorce, or they've been through trauma, and here they are in the temple. They have a set of skills that we don't have, and it could be something like carpentry or computer science, or something that they know that we don't know. They're our superior. Education, career, family. they may indeed be able to educate us, right? You're not necessarily there to just teach. Right? What does Chanakya Pandit say about this? And a learned person can, a questionable source, yes. If a learned person can take a good lesson from an uncertain source. Yes. Having the humility to ask for help, they're demonstrating a wonderful quality. Yes. Service attitude. Whatever it is, there's so many ways. Whatever it is, it has to come from the heart. I see you are my superior. So from this position, I'm going to do my best to help you in your spiritual life. Not that, okay, I know everything. I'm a big shot in your scum. Let me tell you what it is. The servant leader. Any other comments on this?
They have been spiritually seeking for that. It's their sincerity and even if it is a personal or some kind of appreciation for the fact that they have been here to seek and also appreciate the realization they have.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yes, appreciate that. Their sincerity. Okay. Come on in. Delivery. Right there is fine. Thank you. Okay. So our limitations as counselors. I don't know if you can read the caption there. This is a poster from a website called despair.com. If you ever need some demotivation, they have demotivational posters. So this poster says, until you spread your wings, you cannot realize how far you can walk. Our board member and teacher, Madhava Prabhu, he bought one of these and put it up in his office at UF. It was a picture of the Titanic sinking. And the caption is, maybe your life is just an example to others of what they should not do. His boss made him take it down. That boss, yes, right. Okay, so the limitations we experience as pastoral counselors is that we have to be based in Shastra. That's what it means. Pastoral means like from the scripture. So whatever advice we're offering or whatever guidance we're offering has to be from our knowledge of the scripture. That's our qualification. It is a legitimate qualification. Sometimes devotees have a tendency to undervalue our Krishna conscious education. It's not only spiritually high, but it's academically respectable and intact. It just doesn't make any money. You know, that's the only problem. So people think it's worthless, but no, it's so valuable on so many levels. So we use what we know, what we've learned in all these Bhagavatam classes and all the reading we've done. But we are not professionals in mental health, medical, academic, family, or financial matters. We may have experience in these things, but we're not in a position to give professional advice. There is a tendency sometimes if we're giving advice and helping people in their spiritual life, and they have some kind of material problem interfering, that we'll just kind of say, well, actually, let me tell you about this. So we want to make sure to compartmentalize. We can offer experience. We can say, I had a similar problem and this helped me, maybe it'll help you. But if we assert ourselves and say, oh, you've got this problem, you should definitely try chiropractic. Or you should definitely invest in this particular product. Then we've gotten carried away. Like you say, you read your own reviews. get too excited about your capacity as a guide and advisor, and expands from what we're actually qualified to what we're not qualified to do. As a horrific example of this, there was a devotee who had studied a certain branch of medicine, homeopathic medicine, and there was a devotee in the ashram who was diabetic, and so the medical professional advised him in a certain course of medical action. He died. Yeah, so it's no joke. Just understanding this is our limitation. Now we'll talk in a few minutes about having resources to refer people. That's another thing. But taking it upon ourselves is a mistake. In general, in fact, our counseling is descriptive, not proscriptive. Does anyone know what does that mean? Descriptive, not proscriptive. Yes.
Describing the process and then they can choose for themselves.
Yes, precisely. We're describing the process. We're not telling people what they should do. Any writers in here? A few writers. Okay, so two very sensitive words in the English language: should and but. Okay, should and but. Well, you should do this. As soon as we as counselors catch ourselves using that word should, we should stop. Right. It's a red flag word. When it emanates from our mouth, it's generally inappropriate for counseling. There are exceptions, like if we say, should this fail, here's another way to do it. It is a light use of it. But as soon as we're saying you should do this, then we have become proscriptive and lost our objectivity and deprived our counselee from the opportunity to make up their own mind. We're going to tell them what to do. Again, you've heard me tell this story perhaps. My good friend Brahmatirtha Prabhu was in Mayapur during the first gathering of devotees internationally in Mayapur. It was just Srila Prabhupada, about 200 devotees, and Brahmatirtha, the only guest, the newcomer. And so as he was going from devotee to devotee, everyone was telling him what he should do. You should do this, you should chant this, you should read this. He said, pretty soon there were big piles of should everywhere. Prabhupada saw this, and then he called him in his room and said, to protect him. He called him in and said, "You have questions?" So then they had this dialogue: perfect questions, perfect answers. So it's all the proscriptive devotees who caused that book. We can thank them. The other word, of course, is but. The problem with the word but is that it negates everything that comes before it. You've been doing really well in Krishna consciousness, but you're a very sincere person, and I know you're trying your best, but so the alternative to but is and, or yet. You've been trying so hard, yet you're experiencing these difficulties. So what do we do? You're trying very hard and you're experiencing difficulties. What's our next step? That softens it. Occasionally, but has a friendly application, like, Prabhu, sit your butt down here, you know? But other than that, it's a real red flag word, and the more we can avoid it, the better. Descriptive, not proscriptive. So please remember that. We're describing the process of bhakti because that's our qualification. Any questions on this? Comments? Yes, Prabhu. Right, we can develop resources with experience, medical options, insurance options, mental health options. You know, people suffer a lot from depression and anxiety today. The head of the counseling center at the University of Florida spoke to our chaplains group one time and said that their caseload had doubled and their staff remained the same. And the suicide calls had gone up 300%. And they were just like trying to figure it out. So they were trying to determine the cause of this increasing amount of demand on their resources. So their counselors had been reduced to just prescribing and overseeing the taking of medications. They didn't even have time to sit and talk with students anymore. And so they determined that the cause, anyone know what the cause was? Social media. They determined it was social media that was causing the tremendous uptick of depression and stress. And because people felt they had a connection through their virtual connection, but it wasn't really meeting their human needs for exchange and interaction. And so they took the question to a focus group of students. What should we do about this problem? And the students came back, well, we think you should develop a website. I am very circuitously getting to a point here, so please bear with me. We encounter a lot of devotees in our pastoral counseling who are suffering from depression. Depression is connected to the mode of ignorance because it's regretting the past. It's looking backwards and feeling bad about what has happened, which we cannot change at all, but it's happened. And so it can manifest as discouragement or depression. Depression is also known as repressed anger. Somebody hurt us in the past, we couldn't do anything about it, so we have a lot of anger, but it's not coming out. That can make us depressed. And there is also depression that is congenital, that is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. So chanting and devotional service can be effective for dealing with depression because it helps us get out of the past and into the present. However, there are cases where it is not sufficient. If people have mental health issues, particularly, there's a strong tendency for people to think, wow, if I can just chant, I can chant my way out of this and I don't have to take medications anymore. I don't like the medications, antidepressants, or even stronger meds for psychotic conditions. Yes, so temple presidents have a kind of a practice that we share, that it's one of the things that when we take people into the ashram, they have to agree to take their medications. So the pastoral counselor does not want to go there where we would say, okay, maybe if you chant, you won't have to do this anymore. You see? That's up to the individual. We're not prescribing or to people to take or not take. In fact, we say, if you want to move in, you have to take. And you have to stay under the care of a mental health. If you're under the care of a mental health professional, you have to stay there if you want to stay in the ashram. So the people who have mental health issues can be attracted to Krishna consciousness because they're not fitting in with the ordinary course of things. And so we get our share of people with mental health issues. And Srila Prabhupada said, you have to be a little crazy to be a devotee. But too much crazy is not good. So as pastoral counselors, be very cautious about how we tell people to deal with their medication. However, we can be equipped with options for mental health care in the community. So if people, if we feel that their condition it goes beyond what chanting might help, we can say, and here, if you go to the county health department, they have free mental health counseling provided by interns, free or inexpensive. So we're prepared. This is in the toolbox section. Okay, anything else? And we really have a strong tendency to do this with health, don't we? Oh, this worked for me. You might try this technique, that technique. It's dicey. If you say it in the right way. I had that problem and I found this was helpful. If you want information, let me know. But if we get into should, into the deep should, oh, you should really try this, then we're being prescriptive. The Pastoral Counselor's Toolbox: open-ended questions, context, reflective listening, blank canvas, self-disclosure, and resourcefulness. These are the foundational skills. So we're going to unpack these one by one. Open-ended question. What is the definition of an open-ended question? Yes. Precisely. It is a question that cannot be answered yes or no. How are you doing? Fine. What does fine mean to you? Open-ended questions are meant to get people to talk. The example here. So, the guy's saying, "Good day. Did you have a good day?" Is that an open-ended question? No, it's a yes or no question. And so the guy, his friend is saying, I guess so. And then the second panel, okay, how was your day? Open-ended question. Well, let me tell you. So open-ended questions inspire our counselees to speak. And that's when we're successful. Krishna gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So in the counseling session, we want to listen at least twice as much as we're talking. We do that by asking the open-ended question. I was thinking, if we're not in a big rush, can we do a little role play? Presence, would you mind helping with this? So I'll be the open-ended question asker, and you be the counselee, okay? And then we'll change roles when we do reflective listening. Oops. Oh, Krishna. How are you?
How are you feeling?
What gives you that inclination? What will it take to stop the corny jokes? No, please don't. Okay. So, with no preparation here. Oh, thank you very much. So, with no preparation here, we're going to spontaneously ask presence to be a counselee who's got a problem. You're a new student in the ashram, and you have a problem in your sadhana and your Krishna consciousness. What's happening?
I'm really struggling with going to sleep on time and waking up early. Like I'm really struggling to get to Mongol RT, and I don't really know what to do.
What time do you go to sleep typically?
It just depends. Like sometimes I get stuck in a YouTube hole, and then all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and just and then sometimes I like set an alarm, and I'm really good, and I go to bed a little earlier, but I still struggle to wake up in the morning even when I go to sleep early.
When you do get a good night's sleep, how do you feel?
I feel like ready. Like I feel like it's easier to chant my japa. Like I'm actually able to be grateful to Tulsi and the deities and everything. So it's like I feel much better.
And then how does that impact your day?
Well, I just like feel like when I go to sleep and then I wake up and I feel refreshed. Like I spend my first hours with Krishna in a way that I feel like I'm really serving him, and then the rest of the day just feels like amazing.
What's it going to take to have that experience every day?
Man, I mean, I'd have to give up YouTube.
How do you feel about giving up YouTube?
Oh, it feels really hard.
What is hard about it for you?
I don't know. YouTube is so fun. Like, there's so many different things that I can learn, and there's like so much fun music on YouTube, and so it just feels like I would be giving up something fun.
Mm-hmm. What other options or what other times of the day might you watch YouTube?
Yeah, I guess I could do it like in that little window between like after Mongol RT and before I go to do service, or like right after service, like right after lunch.
So there are times during the day where you might fit it in other than late at night.
Yeah, it's possible.
So how do you feel about giving that a try for a week?
I can probably do it for a week.
So how about if you try it for a week and then we talk about it next week, see how it worked?
I can do that.
What was I doing, everybody? So what happened in that exchange? What did you see?
Momentum, like she would elaborate on it and kept progressing further and further into.
Yes, this is a really good observation, Anthony. When the when our counselee answers, Krishna is giving us a little clue in that answer as to what is our next question. So then it kind of cascades based on the feedback that we're getting. Good. Okay. Bruce, what else did you say?
Compromise.
Compromise, meaning. When she said she really likes this, and it isn't inherently like against the regulator principles. It's Maya, but it's not against the regular principle. So then there's some sense of looking for other alternatives for pursuing this particular attachment. Okay, good, good. No problem. It was her decision. Right, right. We don't want to take ownership of the problem. You see the prescriptive tendency there? Oh, you should really go to bed at night. How easy it would be to do that. Any other observations, Carla?
This is not it, so it's validate what they're going through. I'm not saying like, okay, that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you want?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is the benefit of doing it without? Yes, yes. And this is one of the many, many beauties of the open-ended question is that you keep neutral. You don't have to say YouTube is bad. You don't have to say it's good. You're not showing your card. You're keeping your cards close to the chest, as they say. And therefore, the feeling of neutrality and trust is easy to maintain. So it's amazing. It's miraculous. Just by asking a good open-ended question, you stay above the fray. And at the same time, do you think as a counselor, I had an idea in mind? Okay, so would you like to see a demonstration of the power of good questions? Are you up for this? Okay. I'll need 2 volunteers. Okay, presence can be 1 volunteer. Are you familiar with the deck of cards? Okay. I need 1 other volunteer who's familiar with the deck of cards. Carla? Okay. I want you to come up and tell me very quietly 1 card. And presence, you don't listen. Okay. Okay. So, presence, you're familiar with the deck of cards, right?
Yes.
So, a deck of cards has 2 colors, red and black. Which would you choose?
Red.
Okay, and among the red, there are 2 suits. There's diamond and hearts. Which of those would you choose?
Hearts.
Hearts, and that leaves, choose hearts, then that leaves.
Ace through king.
No, I mean,
Okay.
no, if you've chosen the hearts, okay, so
Yeah,
that leaves
diamonds.
diamonds. Okay, so among the diamonds, there's face cards and the ace, and then there's number cards. Which of those would you choose?
Numbers.
Okay, and that leaves?
That leaves the face cards.
Okay, among the face cards, there's the faces and there's the ace. Which of those would you choose?
The ace.
Okay, so it's the ace of diamonds?
Yeah.
What was your card?
What?
What was I doing? I knew the answer. And by questions, I was bringing her to that conclusion, which I already knew. So yeah, this is same thing in the counseling. I knew you need to get in bed early, right? But I was asking questions to try to bring you to that, so you make your own conclusion. Okay. All right. So everything is pastoral counseling is all centered around asking good questions. All right. Any questions? Yeah, it's called manipulation. It's not in the toolbox.
You were a detective.
For that particular exercise, I was not asking open-ended questions. I was if I knew it was this suit, see, then I would. She kept saying hearts. I said, "Which one are you choosing?" She said hearts. I said, "Okay, that leaves." If she had said diamonds, I would say, "Okay, let's go ahead." But this shows the power of asking the right question. Power of the right question is used in diplomacy. Diplomacy means letting the other person come to your own conclusion. So by asking questions, it's called the Socratic method. We teach by asking questions rather than by prescribing. That's pastoral counseling. We know the answer, but we don't put it out in front. But we ask questions to get the person to come to the conclusion that we already know. If they know it, if they discover it, it works. If you tell them, it's very questionable whether it's going to impact. If they come to that conclusion, then it's okay. And any other questions on this topic? Okay. I can't tell you how much the skill of asking open-ended questions has changed my life. Literally changed my life. When I realized I could enter any situation with an open-ended question, I felt so empowered. How or what? And when I find myself in a situation where I don't know what to say, I just say, how? And then my brain starts filling in the rest. I allow myself to blurt out how or what, because I know that's what open-ended questions start with, how or what. They don't start with why or where or when. They start with how or what. So if I just force myself to think that way, then I come up with the question. So you can really take shelter of how or what. Open-ended question. And whenever you're counseling and you're not sure where to go, force yourself to ask a question. Get the other person to express an opinion. And then look for the little nuggets of clues that Krishna is leaving in what they're saying. And just build on that. When I first learned this, I was practicing it on my children. And after a few days, I said, "Dad, you're doing it again." So with practice, it becomes a little more natural. But really, all we're saying is what? What are we doing with the open-ended question? What are we asking our counselee to do? To share, to talk, yes. All right, so this is the number one tool, not only for pastoral counseling, but for life. After the Maha Mantra, I think how and what are the most important transcendental sounds that exist. Okay, good. Okay, the next item in our toolbox is to ask for context. All open-ended questions, great way to start your counseling session. So what is your family background? What's your academic background, work background, hobbies and interests? What attracted you to Krishna consciousness? We want to ask our counselee to really share as much of their life with us as they are willing. The family background is very interesting because it really impacts our lives. For example, how many here are only children? How many are youngest children? You're the perpetual babies in the family. How many of you are eldest children? You're the adventurers. How many of you are middle children? You're confused. Well, think about it. The elder child, as a parent, I can tell you that when you have your first child, you're going to be the greatest parent in the history of parenting. And this kid is going to get all the attention and you can do everything according to the book and everything right. The first child gets a lot of attention. And of course, they're the cynosure of your life. They're the center, they're the apple of your eye. And then the second child comes along, and the first child has this experience of being on the pedestal to getting bumped off to number 2. And there's a new number 1. Because the new one needs all this attention and goo goo gaga, and then they're so cute. And the older one says, "What's going on here? I thought it was me." And so, and the parents, meanwhile, are getting a little more burned out. They've been there, done that. The kids are a pain in the neck. All right, a little more whatever, permissive with the second one. And the third one, even more permissive. And as an elder child is looking and saying, you let this sibling do stuff you would never let me do. Has anyone ever heard or felt that? So this all relates to the nature of the person in front of you when you're counseling. Is this person a first elder child? They probably had a lot of discipline. They probably are more disciplined than their siblings, and they are generally more accomplished. Because of that additional discipline, they tend to go a little farther. Are they the youngest child? Then they're used to having to remaining on the pedestal the whole life, and the mother still thinks of them as their little baby. And so they may be a little bit more of a dependent nature and a little bit more reliance on having things provided for them. Subtle differences, but good to know. Middle children have had really both experiences. So actually they're very flexible. It's going to be a little bit more adaptable. So just something like this, two things are accomplished. With the open-ended question, the person feels, hey, I can tell my life story to this person. They're interested. Every person in the world is the world's leading expert in themselves. The world's leading expert in themselves. And therefore, there's a strong affinity to speaking about that which you know. Has anyone ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie? Who's read that book? Okay. Next to Bhagavad Gita, that book has had more impact on my life than anything else. When I was 21, my mentor, Rameshwara Swami, I had the service of selling Prabhupada's books to academics, to professors. I'd never been to college. So he said, I don't recommend this to everybody, but you should read this book. So I read it very diligently, and that book changed my life because it's all about shifting the focus from ourselves to others. And since then, in my life, I have seen two kinds of people in the world. There's people who are looking to understand other people, and there's people who are looking for someone to understand them. Guess which is the larger majority? So as pastoral counselors, we're taking a role of being one of this elite category of seeking to understand others. There's another book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So one of the habits is seek first. I think that's the first habit, right? Seek first to understand. So by asking questions like this, we're seeking to understand our counselee. Before we get into Bhagavad Gita verses, we want to understand our counselee. So we start by getting context of their life, the family order, the academic background, which can be a great way to find an opportunity for appreciating them as our superiors, better educated. Work background, hobbies and interests, super important. Hobbies and interests, because those are things that give us a clue as to what this person's eternal relationship with Krishna may be. What it is that they can do for Krishna. And we can do just about anything unless our favorite hobby is like shooting and butchering deer. Wildlife. Other than that, just about any hobby you have, you can find a way to use it in Krishna service. So a great question to start the counseling session. And finally, what attracted you to Krishna consciousness? This is a question that at Back to Godhead magazine, they have a series of articles they call Whiffums. I'm sorry, Hicks. Yeah, Hicks, How I Came. So they encourage aspiring writers to write an article about how they came to Krishna consciousness. Why? Because it's a story they know intimately, and it's a story that's meaningful, and then it's a story that has appeal to others to read. So it's easy to write. So it's similarly easy to tell. So what got you interested in Krishna? So these are examples of getting context as a first step in the pastoral counseling procedure. Any questions? Yes. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah, that is the granddaddy of all self-help books, right? First one, Dale Carnegie, the founder of Charter. that book came out in the 1920s or 30s, and so it's got a lot of very archaic kind of examples and language, but it is so spot on about human nature and interactions.
You're talking about hobbies and interests, maybe like eliminating kind of what for that.
Yes.
I feel like same thing with what attracted
Mm.
is like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, very true. Very true. That's a clue. Great, but what if everybody says prasada?
We need a lot of cooks.
We do. Yes, devotees were asking Srila Prabhupada about raw food diets, and he said rice, dal, chapatis, all the vitamins are there. All the vitamins are there. Then he went on to say that you have only come to Krishna consciousness because of prasada. And he looked around and said, you have all come because of prasada. So, but this is, if people come having understood the philosophy and reading books, anyone here start, like your first contact is reading a book? Most, few. So mostly we get interested because of what? People. Yeah, we meet devotees. We are impressed with devotees. What's that? Did you meet devotees or get a book? Devotees, yeah. So, yeah, so, I don't know about in Croatian. Oh, thank you. So, right, the point is that when we find out what's interesting them, then that's a great way to expand the conversation. Yeah, good connection. Anything else? Okay, so next, reflective listening. This is a foundational tool, secular tool. It's taught in all counseling, and Presence has practiced this in her prior counseling experiences. So in this case, she's going to be the counselor. I'll be the counselor. Yeah, I've been chanting for 6 months, and at first it was really nice, but now it's getting kind of like I don't feel anything.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you've been chanting for a long time. You're just not feeling anything. Is that correct? Yeah, it's like it's just become kind of like routine or automatic. I feel like I'm just like saying some words. So as you're going through the process of chanting, it feels like you feel like a robot. Like a robot, yes. You're just mechanical. You're just going through the process. Yeah, is that how I'm supposed to feel? Like, like just I could program my computer to do that. So as you're going through this process, you're feeling like this robot, and you're having an inquiry inside yourself around whether or not that's how you're supposed to feel as you're going through japa. Yeah, am I supposed to feel this way? Is it working? I'm wondering, is the chanting working? So you have this deep inquiry inside of yourself around whether or not what you're actually doing is effective. Yeah. It seemed to be effective at first, and now it's not like I feel like it's not changing. So it's like you had in the beginning, as you were doing it, there was sort of like the newness and the rush, and it felt impactful. And now, as you've moved through the process of chanting, whatever that was happening in the beginning just doesn't feel like it's present for you. Yeah, is that something everybody experiences, or just me? So you're wondering if you're alone in this, or if this is a common experience in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So what does the scripture say about this? Okay. But that's I've come to that now. Ask that question. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I was just demonstrating the success of your reflective listening. Okay, now I'm coming to the point of wanting to take advantage of your superior spiritual knowledge because you heard me. So any comments on this? What was she doing? Bruce? Yes, but with what? Yes, her own wording. Did you notice that? What was an example? Robot, yes. Use the word robot, which I didn't use, and I picked up on that. That was good, huh? Good job. Thank you. So what is the advantage of, actually, President, why don't you answer this for me? How would you describe the advantages of reflective listening? So in my experience with reflective listening, it does a few things. First of all, it takes complete pressure off of you to know anything, be anything, do anything. Because all you have to do is you just have to shut yourself off, and you have to be listening deeply enough so that you can reflect back what the person is saying. So it really, it activates presence, not me presence, but the state of presence. And what it does in the process is you're actually really coming to understand the problem. So when you do get to that point where someone's like, and now I'm actually open to advice. Well, that's what it does too. It actually opens people to wanting your guidance and help. Like before people feel heard and understood, they don't want to be guided by you because they don't trust you. So it builds trust. It brings you into a state of presence. It brings you into a state of understanding. And it also helps to create distance between the person and their struggle. So someone said this to me once where they were like, I did, it was probably like an hour of reflective listening. At the end of it, they were like, oh, my problems like sound so different from 2 feet away. You know, because it takes all of what's going on inside of them away, and they hear it as if a stranger was telling it to them. So it really helps to create distance from issues as well. So I don't know, reflective listening has so many beautiful applications, but mostly it helps the person to feel heard and understood, which is, as you mentioned, what most people are looking for when they're coming first to counseling. It's like they just want to feel like they're not alone, like you mentioned as the counselee as well.
Thank you very much. This is so very helpful. Huh? So see how this is a useful tool for pastoral counseling? Takes the pressure off. You don't have to be wise in quoting verses from Bhagavad Gita. You just have to listen, internalize, and give back. Now, this is foundational to all kinds of counseling. Yeah. Any other reflections, questions, thoughts on this? Yes, Bruce? Yes. So that's the little cartoon there shows that the person's reflective listening, and then the counselee is saying, actually, no, it wasn't quite that. And then we are very humble. Oh, okay, please help me understand properly. Yeah. Yes, Anthony?
I like this because you could digest what they're saying and you're not like thinking about like the reply while they're talking. As like the person listening, sometimes they'll hit on something. I go off into thought mode. So just by absorbing what they're saying and then you repeat it back. So it's like a two-way street. You can absorb what they're saying and they feel heard.
That's very interesting. You brought that up, that you hear something that makes you want to go off in another direction, and yet you want to make sure to stay on point with what they're bringing up. But yet, what about that interesting thing that you heard? Is it necessarily inappropriate for the counseling session?
No, it's good to hold, like, keep it, you have to be able to balance the scales. Like, keep that, if you're taking notes, that probably helps.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Mark it down and you said something about it tomorrow.
And you get back to it later. Yes. Yeah. In general, having a notebook is okay if you need it. It's better than hearing interesting points and forgetting them. I would advise, don't use a phone for that purpose, because that phone immediately indicates I'm not paying attention to what you're saying. Yeah. Adding to the depression and anxiety workload is the Florida counseling. Okay, good, very good observation. So keep focused, give it right back, just clarifying and building trust in the process. Anything else? Any observations?
Just the distance. It's like that when someone says your problem, it's like, well, when you say it, it sounds stupid. That's a good reminder.
It just feels more simple.
Yeah.
Right? Like
silly.
inside of yourself, it feels so complicated.
Yeah.
But like it's not so good. It's simple.
Do you notice one similarity between the open-ended questions and reflective listening?
Trust you that you're listening and to open up. The more times you ask those open-ended questions and reflective listening, the more they open up, the more they share.
Exactly. it has that impact on counseling. It also prevents us as counselors from doing what, which compassionate people have a tendency to do. Be prescriptive and giving advice, and what else? Well, yeah. Yeah, like taking, oh, I really want to help you. Now it's my problem to help you. You see? Think of it like a tennis match. Somebody has a problem. Good shot. You hit them back with an open-ended question. And then they come back with a exaggerated problem. Another open-ended question. Or a reflective listening. Oh, I see. So you're feeling this. Either way, you're not absorbing the problem. It's not my problem. It's your problem, but I'm here to help you. I hear that your problem is this and this and this. What do you think you're going to do about it? What are your thoughts? How could you deal with this? You're like Teflon. Nothing sticks to you. And that way, you're acting like a mirror for the counselee to help them see their problem.
That's funny. Like I was thinking, what are the mechanisms at play? Somebody sees with this reflective nature, the trust component is like similar. It's not some superior guy just throwing.
Wonderful point. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, this is exactly our goal as counselors. We want to be mirrors in the sense that we are exhibiting the kind of behavior we would like our counselee to have in the big picture. And what is our behavior? We're devotees, Haribol, We're happy chanting Hare Krishna, and we would like our counselee to also find the joy of bhakti. And so we are exhibiting what sort of behavior when we're doing a good job as pastoral counselors. What sort of things are we communicating that we would like our counselee to also bring to the relationship? We care. Yes, and?
You're helping them take responsibility for their life. Unhealthy way.
Taking responsibility. We're helping them, okay. But I'm speaking in terms of mirroring behavior, because we're not taking their problem. We want them to take their problem.
Yeah. So that they take it. Like they don't think that we're giving them the tools and then they're taking responsibility for them.
Okay. Prabhuji? Uh-huh. We're showing, in other words, we're demonstrating that Krishna has the answers, and we're confident in that, and that Krishna in their heart will give them the answer also. Good, okay. How about, remember the Duryodhana example? What are we showing by questions and reflective listening? I'm looking for one word. It's Aretha Franklin. Respect. Right. We're showing respect, aren't we? When we do reflective listening, hey, I am interested in what you have to say. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. I respect you. When we're asking an open-ended question, hey, I want to know what you think. I'm showing respect. We are modeling behavior that will help them in their spiritual life. If they show respect, not necessarily to us as individuals, but to Shastra, to Prabhupada, to Krishna consciousness, if they show respect as we're showing them respect, they will benefit. It's funny. Okay, I did a class for the Gainesville Police one time on this dispute resolution. But anyway, okay.
Would you mind if I shared a mirror metaphor that I find really helpful?
This class from now on.
Okay.
I mean, she's got the goods.
So in speaking about being a mirror, I have a metaphor that I always like to keep in mind when I'm mirroring, which is like, I like to be a plastic mirror, like a mirror where actually you can actually see yourself instead of being a funhouse mirror. So it's like in a funhouse mirror, because you can reflect in ways where your false ego is in the way, and you reflect with interpretation, right? So like in your example, would be like, oh, so you're really distracted during japa, like you must be thinking about other stuff, right? Like, so that would be a mirror, but it would be a kind of mirror where I'm not actually giving him back to himself. Like I'm giving my interpretation of him, of what I think back to him. So I really think about just trying to be like something that reflects back in a clear picture and not get in the way. So
yes, this is why using your own words is so important. Because if you're just a mirror, in the sense that the counselor will say something, you say it back, and they say, "Yeah, I just said that," right? So adding our own flavor to the response is really important. This brings up a point, again, getting back to prescriptive advising. It is amazing that advice is actually an obstacle to communication. Giving advice is an obstacle to communication. Isn't that amazing? It immediately creates a barrier. The person has to think, shall I take it or shall I not take it? But we have this strong tendency to give advice. So I'm advising you strongly not to give advice in your counseling sessions. Okay. We catch ourselves doing these things, which we're very accustomed to doing in teaching situations. And we're the fun house mirror. Even if the advice works, prosecutor, victim, and rescuer. The drama triangle. Okay. So as pastoral counselors, which of those three roles do we play? In all three. We shouldn't be either the prosecutor, the rescuer, or the victim. Disempowered. Very good. So in other words, we don't play the rescuer nor the prosecutor. And we allow the victim, not the prosecutor. What's your problem, Prabhu? Open-ended question. Right. So we want the victim to become empowered to create and discover their own. Okay, good. All right, let's move on. We are coming near the end here. And there's something really good you're going to enjoy at the end. It's just 2 minutes long. Is that queued up also? Okay. Yeah, this is kind of a specific tool. Are we going over time here? I'm sorry, we caused a problem with any lunch or anything? No? Okay. Just a little technique to toss out to your counselor. Okay, you have these problems. Imagine your life is a blank canvas and you're starting all over. How would you paint your life? What would your life look like if it was, if you could just make it any way you want right now? This gets the counselee thinking in very positive terms and hopeful terms and looking forward to the future. Simple technique, not much to elaborate. But counselors use this a lot. Okay, now it's not changing. Could you change it for me there? Okay. Self-disclosure, again, a very limited technique. It has some benefits that we can show empathy. If we hear a problem that we have experienced ourselves, better to use the open-ended question and pursue exploring it through that means. But if we have something similar, we can show empathy by saying, oh, I went through something like that once. But then we have to take it back to the empowerment. The risk of self-disclosure is that it becomes a soliloquy about yourself. Because again, we're the world's leading experts, and they come to us for advice, so we might as well tell them our life story. It's a strong propensity to overdo. but it can have benefits in creating empathy. Okay. And the last tool in the toolbox is to be resourceful as you become more acquainted with pastoral counseling in your community. You might learn about resources for mental health, for physical health, for doing layout in your PowerPoints so you can read the script. Somehow it's very distorted, I don't know. How others can help. We might hear from our counselee something that we feel another devotee could be very helpful with. So we're not afraid to make referrals, other options. So always in the mood of finding what is best for the new devotee, for the counselor. Okay, so these require any discussion on this? No? Okay. So I'm going to flip back and just look at the toolbox. Again, this is perhaps the most important thing you'll take away. Most important, far and away, is open-ended question. Get context of the counselee's life, reflective listening. Then these other three are corollaries: the blank canvas, self-disclosure, and resourcefulness. Okay, any last discussions about the toolbox, the counselor's toolbox? Is this helpful? Okay, so then let's look at the big picture. What are we doing as the facade of siding is the one for us. Thank you. Okay, so the bigger picture is that as followers of Kalakantha, as distributors, person in this role of pastoral counseling, we are actually living the verse that is most frequently quoted from It's the second most frequently quoted verse of all the verses. He does it with the first most frequently quoted. After that, this verse he quotes most often. And in all of his lectures, which means yes, you become a spiritual master and try to liberate everybody from that. Kind of telling in South India, Brahma, the form of Brahma, is so attractive and compelling. So I just want to leave everything in front of you. This way to kind of reflect. Maragaki, Krishna, Deshi, Maragaki. Wherever you go, tell them about Krishna. And this way you become a spiritual master by the way. That is the big picture. It's a pastoral counseling. You're preparing yourself to be spiritual. Now, everybody's going to be a Siksha Guru. Give instructions. The Siksha Guru is for this very elite few. That's the mentality that we have to like fund from our group. Prabhupada writes in the church, Siksha Guru and Siksha Guru are on the same level. Why do we see it in such a different way? There's a whole history demographic of that. Suffice to say, as a member of the generation that screwed it up, I want to try to straighten it out before I die. Prabhupada had in mind very clearly that every one of you
responsibility in the course of your life for a few people. At least a few people have to be judged or thousands of disciples. 5%, 5.975 on this point. Verse 13 of body that verse is about a way to the chariot. So he said the chariot is one who does three things. You know what are the three qualifications? You have to know the philosophy, then you have to follow it, practice, and then you have to teach. Know it, and you live it, and you teach. Live it, live it, get it, live it, get it. By our poet story. This is what Prabhu was explaining, that it's very easy to be a spiritual master. You just have to learn the philosophy and then teach it. It is very easy. What is the difficulty? So we were sitting there, about 200 of us, very much first time, most of us had dysentery, had socks. And he looked out over and he said, so we have how many acharyas in our movement? 10,000? 10,000 will become 100,000. 100,000 will become 1,000,000. And 1,000,000 will become 10 million. And there will be no scarcity of acharyas. This is one of the few rare events of you are young, you can do this. I'm an old man, I have no opportunity. Sorry. This tape, this lecture program. Clearly have the concept that he wanted all of his sons and daughters, not just the chief. Please understand, if you're able to do pastoral counseling well, you will be able to do pastoral life. You will be able to have passion and fire to do it. That's the big picture. You're starting your journey. Don't be allergic to it. I couldn't possibly do it. That's the distribution. 4,000 disciples, only percent. So get past that. You don't have to do it tomorrow. You don't have to do this tomorrow, but just the intention needs to be there. Willingness. Man or woman, no different color, but all my sons and daughters will inherit this title and whatever the conservative branch of this country is saying, no better than the body. But in reality, this is the problem. But you can't. That's okay. Any questions? So much evidence. This morning have an ideal. It's true. I mean, how many lives have been saved? Right? Not a life. How much have how it's life? The other questions?
Do you have a favorite psychologist? And do you have any other?
Still trying to keep. especially people who come to Christian consciousness, what in the world brought you here? That's what comes from there's really great stories. Other came to visit him at the temple. That's where you didn't realize my friend was in the office. Let us speak mother. So he said, oh, well, looks like he's busy. Why don't you sit here for a while? He sat out in the courtyard outside his office for about an hour. And then he came out and said, Mom, you're here. I'm so sorry I didn't get away. Sorry, that's right. By the way, if you ever want to write a novel, you've got to do it. Devotees that she is. You'll hear amazing just by taking an interest, a genuine interest in other people. That's what I like to do. All right. Yes. Last one, then we're going to see a little video of it.
That point you just made, I feel like this recent, in that where I used to feel that my story and, you know, my personal story was really interesting, and now I don't think that it's that interesting anymore. But I mean, it's kind of boring to me now. But what I've been able to do is I'm becoming genuinely more interested in other people's stories. But what's helped me is trying to figure out like the details of their story that are similar to the details that I thought were interesting about mine. Like who are your grandparents, you know, and like where are they from, and how did they
Phrase Krishna consciousness. We become conscious of Krishna as opposed to being conscious of ourselves. Level of self. Through that. And have something really good. With that, let's watch a short video. Very instructive video. Afterwards, we'll have a little quiz about what you learned.
Sometimes it feels like it's just there's all this pressure, you know, and sometimes it feels like it's right up on, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's gonna stop. I mean, that's the thing that's hurting most, is that I don't know if it's ever gonna stop.
you have?
It's not about me.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
I'm not trying to fix it. You
always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't, that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're not listening out.
Okay, fine, I will listen, fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. I'm not sleeping very well at all. My sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them. Just don't.
What do we learn from that instructive video? People want to be heard. Don't need to fix their problems. Because it can go on the session. soon as he backed off trying to stop, he brought it up again. It takes patience, but not that long. People will come to this realization. Don't take the problem. The problem.
Is there able to so
Victim, rescuer. All right. So thank you very much. Was this helpful?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, everyone, Krishna Abhishek to this.
So, as you see on the poster, Krishnabhishek Prabhu on the college's availability starting on March 2nd to 12. Got the collaboration with the center and the college. There's seminars. This is just one. Here, but also online. Seminar on leadership. So if you're thinking of a career as a pastoral counselor or a chaplain, understand the educational public, then Ramu will do that. Yes, yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a legitimate career.
Yes. The idea is to integrate hours. We will be attending Mangalar. Records. All of that adds up to something. And in 2 years' time, our hope is to have an associate's degree. Spend 2 years in do whatever you do. Let's say you're on campus serving yourself, then it becomes this collaboration space. As long as you do it right, you get out of here with a certificate that actually means something. Bro, there are enough opportunities out there. For chapters. I know I spoke to you. You think that you want to have a career teaching, going out, doing your who pays your bills, start here.
Elevating it.
Your friend, Mother Krishna, encourage you to join us online. You do it live.
Thank you so much for being here.
Hit the nail.